This will be our second lesson on angels. The other one was told 2 or 3 weeks ago. And from a sermon point of view, this is probably going to be the end of it. However, I know we haven't answered every question and every curiosity and what have you. If you're interested in a little deeper study, a little more flexible format, when we wind up the current Wednesday night study, we could do a short study on angels. And I'm completely open to that. Just give me your feedback and, we'll cover some more questions. Otherwise, as far as sermons go, this, I think, will wrap it up for the sermons. So the curiosity that we have about angels is fine. It's totally normal. We do want to be a little cautious when we're curious about some various things. Our angels are there. They serve. They never seek worship. They never offer autographs. They're not there to stand in the spotlight. They're there to get the job done that God sent them to do. And then they disappear, as we'll see. I want to tell you that your curiosity is not wrong, though I am going to cautious our curiosity. Acts 17:11 is where the Bereans searched the Scriptures daily to find out whether these things were so. And so our goal is to stay within scriptural limits. If you really want to do a study, what I want you to do is do your little page, and on one page write what the Bible actually says. And then in the next column write what I speculate that means. Because there is a distinction there between what the Bible says and then the meaning we assign to it. And different people put different things to some of those. So you're going to search the Scriptures, absolutely. That's our basis. And you're going to respect the boundaries. And then you're going to have to just learn to live with, He doesn't answer every question we have. Sorry. The purpose of the Bible is to give us the teaching so that we will be perfectly, thoroughly equipped for every good work. 2 Timothy 3:16 and 17. He didn't give us the Bible to answer every curiosity question we had. And that's probably a good thing. Because, we have one rather small volume, I'm going to say now. If He answered every curiosity question we had, it would be multiple volumes. Maybe more like the Encyclopedia Britannica. Imagine having to read that one through once a year. I don't think we would, right? So understand that your mastering the understanding of angels is not essential to your salvation. When you get to the pearly gate, St. Peter is going to meet you there with 214 questions about angels, and if you miss one, sorry, you're out. It doesn't work that way. So don't get anxious about it if you don't understand something. And then think about this. The absence of detail may not be a gap. It may be a guardrail. With what little bit we know, Paul already had to warn us that we need to not worship angels. It may be that if we knew more, there would be some other temptations there. And so the scant little knowledge we have may be really good for us. Ultimately, you want to look at angels as pointing you back to God. It's all about God, God in Christ, Holy Spirit, right there at the center. That's what it's all about. And the angels are just fellow servants. So let's run through some verses rather quickly. And when a preacher says rather quickly, I don't have a clue how fast this is going to go. But if you look at Luke 16:22, and if you're a page turner or a swiper, get ready. Because I have about 8 of these lined up to look at. And these are just going to give you kind of the tip of the iceberg of the angels. So this is the story of the rich man and Lazarus, Luke 16. And of course, they both eventually pass away. And in verse 22, it very plainly tells us, now the poor man died and was carried away by the angels to Abraham's bosom. And the rich man also died and was buried. And so you have the right, I think, to think that when the faithful die, the angels carry them away. I don't have a whole lot more to say about that. I'll let you ponder that one. In Luke 2, verse 8, we have the announcement to the shepherds in the field. Don't want to read all of that, 8 through 15, but the shepherds are in the field. And verse 10, the angel says to him, don't be afraid. Behold, I bring good news of great joy, which will be for all people. And he goes on and gives the rest of the message. And in verse 13, suddenly there appeared with the angel a multitude of heavenly hosts, saying, glory to God in the highest, and peace on earth among men, with whom He is pleased. And when the angel had gone away from them into heaven, the shepherds began to talk, of course. The angels delivered the message, and we have this event, which I don't know how long it took on the clock, but it was done. They did what they were supposed to do. They got the message through, and they left. And so you have that one. Then at Matthew 28, 2 through 7, at the resurrection of Jesus, Matthew 28, the angels show up again. And behold, a severe earthquake had occurred, for an angel of the Lord descended from heaven and came and rolled away the stone and sat upon it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothing as white as snow, and the guards shook for fear of him and became like a dead man. That's why I say, I don't know if you really want to see an angel. I know all of us, when we think about angels, we think about the cute little figurines that people stick around their house and the paintings and what have you. And they go, oh, isn't that precious? Isn't that cute? Well, the figurines that we make up are precious and cute. I don't know that we would have that same response if we saw a real angel. In fact, when you look through the various accounts, it's pretty popular, pretty common for people to pass out or fall down with fear and shake and tremble. If that's the experience you're looking for, then I hope you see an angel. But I don't think that's really the experience you're out to get. Now, the angel also talked to the women and said, do not be afraid, for I know you're looking for Jesus. He's been crucified. He's not here. He's risen. He said, come and see the place. Go quickly, tell the disciples he is risen from the dead. He's going ahead of you into Galilee. And they left the tomb. They didn't sit around and have a long chat and talk to the angels. Now, wouldn't that be nice? Well, while you're here, let's go down to McDonald's and get a cup of coffee. I've got 1,000 questions I want to ask you. But it didn't work that way. They showed up, they delivered the message, they gave the instruction, and the women did what they were told to do. And it's really not a lot of information there. We have them at the ascension. This one could be a little debated. Acts 1:10. Was this angels or was this somebody else? But we're going to call them angels. Again, not a whole lot going on here. Let me get there. Let's start verse 9. And after he said these things, he was lifted up while they looking on, and a cloud received him out of their sight. And they were gazing intently in the sky while he was going. Now, number one, wouldn't you? I would too. Be standing. You know how like sometimes the kids let a balloon go and you just stand there and watch until you can't see it anymore? Only this would be much more reverent and intent than that. And then it said, behold, 2 men in white clothing stood beside them and said, men of Galilee, why do you stand looking in the sky? This Jesus whom has been taken up from you into heaven will come in just the same way as you have watched him go into heaven. And so we again have a bit of a message, and then when you read on, there's nothing else about them. They came, they did their job, what they were supposed to do, and then they left. Acts 5:19, when the apostles are locked up in prison, and the angel comes. But during the night, an angel of the Lord opened the gates of the prison, and taking them out, he said, go and stand and speak to the people in the temple the whole message of life. Upon hearing this, they entered into the temple about daybreak and began to preach. Now again, we've got angels there, and they do something pretty neat, and it's a great idea, but they come, they do what they're supposed to do, and then they're gone. They didn't stand around, like I like to say, for autographs or what have you. Angel comes and talks to Cornelius in Acts 10. That starts about verse 3. And about the 9th hour of the day, he clearly saw a vision of an angel from God who had just come in and said to him, Cornelius, fixing his gaze on him and being much alarmed, amen, much alarmed, said, what is it, Lord? And he said to him, your prayers and alms have ascended as a memorial for God. Now dispatch some men to Joppa and send for a man named Simon, who is also called Peter. He is staying with a tanner, Simon, whose house is by the sea. Then the angel left. He summoned his servants and sent for Peter. I think this one's a little more interesting in that why didn't the angel just tell him what he needed? Why did they have to go all the way and get Peter and bring Peter back and all of that trouble? Well, I don't know. But I do know that in the Great Commission, Christ said to men, go into all the world, preach the gospel to every creature. And so the angels didn't do the preaching, but there is assistance there. There's clearly some assistance. They told him where he needed to go. Acts 27, 23, 24. This is when Paul is on the ship and things have been pretty rough. And an angel stood before him in the night and told him to take courage. It's all going to work out. It's all going to be okay. Everybody's going to survive. And I won't read that one, but that's the basic gist of that one. And so again, you have an angel coming up, not really doing anything, but just giving some encouragement. Perhaps Paul was in need of that encouragement at the time. And then in Hebrews 1:14, where he refers to angels as ministering spirits. And I believe angels are ministering spirits. And on over in chapter 13, somewhere I forget right off the top of my head, he says you've entertained angels unaware. They're part of it. They're part of the biblical story. That's more of the tip of the iceberg there, but they're there. But it doesn't answer every question you want answered. If we do it in a Wednesday night Bible class, we'll obviously kick some questions around because it is a more informal format and speculate a little bit. But basically, they work. They do what they're supposed to do. They come do what they're supposed to do. When the job is done, they're gone. They don't stand around for applause or notoriety or anything else. They're just good servants. Then we have the angel of the Lord. And there are more than these two examples, but when you have Moses at the burning bush, Exodus 3, 2, and 6, it very specifically says the angel of the Lord. And there is a distinction between the angel of the Lord and just an angel. Now, I know you're thinking, okay, preacher, you've got every answer right here, don't you? Sorry. I know there's a distinction here. So I'm at Exodus 3. No, I'm not. I went verse 2. The angel of the Lord appeared to him in a blazing fire from the midst of the burning bush. And look, behold, the bush was burning. There was a fire, but the bush was not consumed. And then down at verse 6, we have God talking directly to him. And then we do one more with Manoah. That's the father of Samson. And you can do more than these if you get your concordance out. You can find them. Judges 13, 21, 22. Now the angel of the Lord did not appear the angel of the Lord did not appear to Manoah and his wife again. Then Manoah knew that he was the angel of the Lord. So Manoah said to his wife, we will surely die, for we have seen God. Interesting. What is this angel of the Lord versus just an angel? I don't know. I can tell you the two different ideas. There are some people who think somehow this was pre-incarnate deity. I don't know. There are other people who just say this is a fully authorized spokesman for God. You know, Jesus said, if you receive him, you receive the one who sent him. If you reject Jesus, you reject the one who sent him, and those who reject the apostles reject Jesus. You know, there's a very close association in the one who sent the messenger and the messenger being recognized as the one who sent them. So you're just going to have to debate that one around a little bit in your own mind. God's obviously not obligated to satisfy our curiosity on exactly what all is going on with the angel of the Lord versus an angel of the Lord. I'm going to revert to what I later called the so what rule. And I'm like, I don't know. So let's go with number one for a moment. Let's say it was Jesus pre-incarnate, which is an idea that some people kick around. Okay. What's that going to change in my life? Nothing. I still have the obligation to obey everything he taught, to submit. It doesn't change a thing. Let's say it was just an oddity of wording, and the angel of the Lord is really no different than an angel of the Lord. It's just one of the peculiarities of the Hebrew wording. Okay, what changed? Not a thing. Not a thing changed in our practice. Am I curious? You bet I'm curious. But when I get to the so what rule, I'm like, oh, I still need to do what I need to do, don't I? It doesn't change anything. It just kind of pacifies my curiosity a little bit. So what I want you to know is that God can be fully present with us without being fully explained. Psalm 139 would say he is present with us. There's no place to go to get away from him. Well, how does that work? How can it be our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, and at the same time he's everywhere I am? I don't know. My brain doesn't work that way. Do I have to fully explain God's omnipresence? No. I just need to fully trust him without everything being explained. And that's the direction I think a lot of us don't like to go. So we don't need answers to everything. Ultimately, we just need to do what God told us to do. Matthew 7:21. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who, those last part, does the will of my Father. And this doesn't change our doing. So our humble obedience is going to protect us, and it's going to keep us grounded. And like I say, study it, enjoy it, dig into it, read what some other people have. You know what was so neat now? Once I got interested in angels, and I was about 19 years old. And back then, if you wanted to read any more about angels, you had to go to the bookstore, hope they had a book, hope it was a decent book, buy the book, go home and read the book. And then if it turns out you got a bad book, you just wasted $10. Now you have the internet. Wow. You have like a whole world of knowledge right there available to help you dig into it and search through it. And it's a wonderful tool to have. So you can do some pretty neat study and come up with some pretty neat ideas. Then we get the two named angels. And in our book, there's only two named. Now, the reason I preface it that way is because if you talk to your Catholic friends and their additional deuterocanonical books or whatever they call those, the extra books they have, they do name another angel, but I forgot what his name was, so I'll have to let that go for now. But Gabriel does appear in Daniel. I'm not going to read these, but he's there twice. And when Daniel encounters him, it's quite a serious event. It's not like meeting down at McDonald's for coffee. It's major. Zechariah in Luke 1, John the Baptist's dad. He meets this angel Gabriel. Remember, he's in the Holy of Holies and the angel appears to him and he tells him that she's going to have a son. He's like, she's old. That ain't happening. And the angel says, here's the proof of it. Until the child's born and named, you won't be able to talk. And Zechariah comes out of the Holy of Holies and he can't talk anymore. And he doesn't talk again until they say, what will we name the baby? And then he gets his voice back. Okay, that's Gabriel. So again, basically just delivering a message. Mary, of course, mother of Jesus, you can read more into that, but that's Gabriel who comes and talks to her and delivers that message. A little bit more there, but really it's just the message that's a bit more. It's not going to tell you a lot more about angels directly and how they work and what they do. He shows up, delivers the message. It's a joyful occasion. Mary has a question. He answers the question and goes about his business. And then we have Michael, again in Daniel, mentioned a couple of times. You get a little bit of idea that there's some structure with the angels here, because in Daniel 10, 13, or 12:1, there's a reference to him being the mighty prince among the angels. So you go, oh, okay, so maybe there's some structure there. I don't know what that structure is, though. Jude 9, we have a reference there. Let's look at that one quickly. Jude verse 9. That's your last book before Revelation. It's a whole page long. And with these thin pages, it's almost hard to get to. So here we have Michael the archangel, when he disputed with the devil, argued about the body of Moses, did not dare pronounce against him a railing judgment, but said, the Lord rebuke you. Now we could do a little bit with that. Number one, we have some conflict with the devil going on, right? There's some battle there. That was also mentioned back in Daniel's references also. And we also see that Michael has this awareness of what is appropriate and inappropriate for him to do. And he says he did not dare pronounce a railing judgment against the devil, but said, the Lord rebuke you. He understood his limits, he understood his place, and he stayed in his place. Now, a little bit of conversation there, but not a lot. Revelation 12:7, of course, we have Michael mentioned once again, and so you can look at that one. So what we get is God is active. He's attentive. It's not just Gabriel and Michael that are active. All the angels are active according to God's will, and we just trust that. And we keep bringing our focus back to God. I trust if you need the assistance of an angel in your life, since they're sent out as ministering spirits, got to take care of it. My other suspicion is you probably won't know it. You may suspect it. But, a lot of us have those times in our lives where somehow we survived something that we look back on it and don't think we should have survived it. Or we were about to take a bad turn down one road and something happened and we ended up going down another road and you kind of wonder, what happened there? I don't know. Providence? An angel? Wish I could tell you more. But I just, if I stick with what the scriptures say, I don't have a whole lot. Hebrews 13:2, that's the one about entertaining angels. And when you look at your text, we get caught up in the angels. It's not about angels. Now, the angels are mentioned here. But I'm going to give you 3 verses, starting with Hebrews 13:1. Let love of the brethren continue. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for by this some have entertained angels without knowing. Remember the prisoner as though in prison with them, and those who are ill-treated, since you also are in the body. What's the main focus? The main focus is hospitality. Don't neglect to show it. Remember people who are struggling. And then you have that little, for some have entertained angels without knowing it. And there is a little bit debate about, is angels here really an angelic being? Are angels here just referring to other people who were fellow Christians and you just didn't know it? They were people out spreading the gospel also. And, so it's that slipperiness of language. I was talking to Brenda earlier, and she was talking about liking to be specific because she's an accountant, right? And 1 is 1, and 2 is 2, and 3 is 3. And that's absolutely correct. In language, it's not always that way. Sometimes a word can be used in 2 or 3 different ways, and then you and I have to be careful to try to use it in the way. So in this text, it's not about trying to seek angels in the sky. So every time you bump into a stranger, let me look in your eyes. Let me see if I can see a little glint of light in there or something. No, that's not what that's about. It's about being hospitable and having love and care and compassion with everybody you meet. You do good unto all men, especially the household of faith. That's the basic gist of it. Now, Abraham, we could have a bit more to do there. Let's go back to Genesis 18. God comes and talks to Abraham. But it's also 3 men. And it gets interesting. This is one of the places where I can tell you language varies, because as I was reading my New King James this morning, it said 3 men. But now as 2 of these men go down to Sodom and Gomorrah and continue their mission, it's 2 angels. So we're not going to read all of this, but verse 1. Now the Lord appeared to him by the oaks of Mamre while he was sitting at the tent door in the heat of the day. Who appeared to him? Say the Lord. And when he lifted up his eyes, looked, behold, 3 men were standing opposite him. Oh, wait a minute. I thought we were talking about angels, preacher. Yes, we are. And he ran to the tent door and met them. And of course, they bowed down and so on, the courtesy things. Now, when they went on, look down at 19:1. Now the two angels came to Sodom in the evening as Lot was sitting in the gate. Okay, these are the two that left Abraham. Well, the Lord stayed and talked with him. There's an ancient writer back in the second, third century that makes a whole big ordeal out of this proving the Trinity. The Lord appeared to him, three, you know, and again, you'll have to do with that what you want. What I want you to know is regardless of what you do with that, you can be faithful, even if you don't understand exactly how the angels work out in that text. What we need is obedience in our ordinary moments. Am I curious? Absolutely. So much so that, like I say, if there's expressed interest, we'll do this after our little tulip study, and we'll have a little fun kicking it around. It's a biblical subject. It's not wrong. But in the end, it's kind of like, okay, that was fun. And that's it. It is kind of fun. But hospitality is what we want here. And that is our warfare. Because Satan is the opposite of hospitable. Then we have angels versus myths. This was another question that was asked. Don't let your imagination outdo the scriptures, but again, you're kind of like, I don't know. Let's go back to Genesis 6. This is right before the flood, setting the stage for the flood. Now it came about when men began to multiply on the face of the land, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves, whomever they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit shall not strive with man forever, because he is also flesh. Nevertheless, his days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came to the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men of, get it right. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. Now, some of your text is going to say giants. This is the thing about language again. What do they mean? Were they physical giants or were they powerful men? Then the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great on the earth. Every intent of his heart was only evil continually. The Lord was sorry he made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. Oh, what's going on there? Okay. The non-exciting answer is the sons of God were the descendants of Seth, the lineage, the lineage that Christ would come through. And the daughters of men were the sons of Cain, couldn't quite be Abel, could it? Cain. And so you had the two different camps, and Seth's group was mixing with Cain's group. Now that's the old school, non-exciting answer. The other answer is, well, there were angels in heaven. And the angels in heaven looked down at the daughters of men and said, whoo, she's hot. Let's hook up. And they engaged with the women and they had babies, and the babies, because of this crossbreeding, were somehow actually giants of the day. And I'm talking about physical, not just in power and that way. And so, what do you do with that one? I don't know. I think the point there is about the spreading of sin and the corruption of man. You had this little tidbit of the Nephilim were on the earth at that time. We're like, boy, what is that? Well, let me go back to my so what principle. Let's say it was the offspring of Seth and the offspring of Cain. Not really exciting, is it? We're kind of like, that's boring, preacher. I don't like that one. Okay, I don't like it either. So let's go the other way. It actually somehow was angelic beings who mated with earthly women, and their kids were genetically whatever, and they were 10 foot tall. Awesome. Now that's a better story. That's a little more fun. So what? What about after all of that? Nothing. I still get up in the morning, and it's my whole duty to fear God and keep His commandments. It's still my whole duty to love God with all my heart, all my soul, all my mind. It's still my duty to nurture my wife as my own flesh. I can't see anything that this story changes either way I go. Is there a mystery there? Yes, there is. But when it gets down to it, who enters the kingdom of heaven? He who does the will of the Father. And so I wish I could give you something a little more concrete. We do have a little bit of a problem with the angels. Angels, I don't say marrying, but the angels getting with the women. Because in Matthew 22:30, when the Sadducees asked their story about the woman that was married to the 7 brothers and none of them ever had a kid, then in heaven, whose wife will she be? And he says, you're mistaken. You don't understand that in heaven they're like the angels. They're neither given nor taken in marriage. So the angels don't seem to have that need. But I'm going to have to let you figure how those verses go with the other verses in your head. I'm going to just trust that God revealed exactly what I need to know. I'm back to 2 Timothy 3:16 and 17. All scripture is given by inspiration. And the conclusion of that is so we may perfectly be furnished to every good work. That's the main thing to get out of that. So let's close. Your curiosity leads you back to the Word. Don't let it pull you away from the Word. Don't let somebody come up with some harebrained idea that if the Nephilim were here now, you get to go smoke weed and cheat on your mates. And people will make those big crazy leaps. Well, if there were Nephilim back then it's okay to go get drunk and gamble. There's absolutely, literally no connection between the two. But in some people's mind, they're just deceitful enough to pull something like that off. God gave us everything we need to know to be furnished unto every good work. And that's what it's about. You say, well, preacher, then why did God give us this stuff we don't understand? Why did he put the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in the garden? If he didn't want them to eat it, why didn't he just leave it out of the garden? But he put it in the garden. Now, I know you'll think on that for a minute. You'll come up with a reasonable answer, right? Maybe that's why some of these little things are there for us too. Will we keep our focus and do what we're supposed to do? Or we go running down rabbit trails thinking we're doing something holy when actually we're not. God gave us everything we need to be perfectly, thoroughly furnished unto every good work. So we're going to continue building on book, chapter, and verse. And we don't have to know everything there is in the book and every question to trust God. Our inner peace just comes from trust. Philippians 4, 6, and 7, you pray in everything, and the peace of God passes understanding, guards your heart. That's that ability to give it up to God, even though I don't understand everything and where it's going to go. Yet God's got this. I'm going to trust Him completely. And then finally, God reveals Himself not through the angels, but through His Son. And His Son is our focus. We are to be imitating Christ. And Christ leads us to imitating God. And that's the center of it. Have your curiosity. I've got it. And frankly, I'll have my curiosity till the day my mind goes, or I pass away, whichever comes first. But the best plan is just to get to heaven and see for yourself. And then when you get to heaven, you can walk around for however long you want and go, oh, that's a seraphim. Oh, that's Michael. And then you can ask other angels their names. But right now we just got 2 of them. But if you don't get to heaven, then all this doesn't matter. Because I don't think you're going to sit in hell in eternal ruin and go, wow, I wonder if there were more than just Michael and Gabriel. What were those Nephilim? I don't think that's going to be an occupation in hell. I think the occupation in hell is going to be, how could I have been so stupid not to do the will of the Father? And that's where you want your focus to land. So are you doing the will of the Father? If you are, stay the course. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. If not, we can help. Let us do so. While together we stand and sing.